Welcome to My Why, a series of personal stories that share the history and impact of YPN, the premier provider of prenatal and parenting programs in East Central Iowa. We support, educate, and empower families since 1985. Join us in our mission and learn the why YPN for so many in our community. Hello.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
So, if you are wondering who you are hearing right now, my name is Kim Hanna, and I am the Director of Advancement at YPN, and I am honored to sit down today with our fearless Executive Director, Alejandro Pino. And so, we are excited to bring a podcast about the work that YPN is doing in the community and the families that we work with and the amazing team that make all of this magic happen. And I will be here today to talk to, I'm going to call you AP, if that's okay with you, because that's what we call you in the office.
Better than what other people call me.
I wasn't going to say. But we are here today to talk a little bit about the history of YPN, why we're doing this podcast, and learn a little bit more about you. And then I think we'll have you back for another session a little bit later so people can learn even more about what you do and your impact with YPN.
Great.
So let's get the party started.
Wonderful.
AP.
Yes.
Why are we doing a YPN podcast?
Great question, Kim. No, I think, I'm excited about this. Obviously, some people knew that I was a little bit nervous about it, but I think it's important. And the reason I think it's important is because I get a chance to talk about an organization that I really, really believe in. And number two, I get to talk about the wonderful people, all who make up that wonderful organization as well, too. So in many respects, I still think, even though we've done a little bit better job, we're still a little bit of a hidden treasure within Cedar Rapids and the surrounding communities as well. So I think one of the ways in which this podcast will help spread the word is by the conversation. The conversations that we're going to be having, and just explaining the why is the most important thing, because that's really what drives us, on a daily basis, and that's why we do what we do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me and tell us a little bit about you. What's your background? Childhood, family? What brought you to Cedar Rapids?
Yeah. So my life's been kind of an adventure a little bit, but brief, and I'll try to keep it brief, but I was born in Lima, Peru. South America, sometimes people think I'm talking about Peru, Illinois, and then I have to, it's a little bit different on the map. But so I was born there, and then we immigrated here when I was 10 years old. So, it's been kind of a roller coaster a little bit. I certainly always consider my life to be a very fortunate and privileged life in many respects, in that I already had, like a support network, not only in Peru, but also when we came to the United States, that not many people have, So I really consider that a very fortunate experience that we have. Come from a very big family on both sides, so family has always been very important to us, and that's one thing also that drew me to YPN. I know we're going to get to that here in a little bit, but so the family unit is super important as well. One of the things that has really struck me too, just in my experience, is the importance of relationships and how important other people have. The big role that they play in someone's life, and that's essentially what's helped me transition from something that I had, only known Peru, to coming to the United States has been a huge transition. But, part of a wonderful family, my much better half, her name is Autumn, and I met her in college. We have 2 kids. She works in education. My daughter Lily, who is now learning how to drive, which is absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying, but she's doing a great job. And then also my son Oliver as well too. So in a nutshell, that's my family. Educational background, I went up to Loras College in Dubuque, Iowa, graduated there with international studies and politics. So I've always had a huge passion for the international component and everything that I've done, and the diversity component as well too. I think I've learned so much from people. So that's really driven me professionally and personally as well too. So, but life's an adventure, right?
That's very cool. And I will say, as someone whose office is just down the hall from AP, we are definitely keeping track of the international world and politics on a daily basis.
Yes, we do.
So I love hearing that. So What led you to YPN? How did you end up here with your background that you just laid out?
So one of the things that struck me about YPN, and I had the privilege of also volunteering before, coming professionally to YPN as well, but something that really led me to it is just the focus on the family and the importance of making sure that we're there and present for our kids. Our kids are really, in many respects, what drives our work, at YPN, particularly on that 0 to 5 age range, which we know is critical in the development of a child. But more importantly, we know that if children start, very positively during that developmental time, we know that their life trajectory in many respects, and there's several, studies that show this, that the chances of everything from incarceration to educational attainment just improves, right? Not the incarceration obviously goes down. But their life trajectory is much more positive. So that's one of the things that really drew me to YPN is just that focus in that we're really trying to help society with many of the challenges that we see right now by starting really early and being that intervention really early and really guiding folks to a little bit better life trajectory for especially those kids, right? Oh, it's so powerful, Kim. Just looking into the eyes of the kids that we serve on a daily basis and knowing that what's ahead of them. In many circumstances, your heart breaks because you know that the circumstances that they're in right now is not the most positive. But that's why we're here. We're here to kind of help guide. We don't do things for people, but we help guide as best that we know through evidence-based, curriculums and just our own personal experiences as well too. So it's that powerful kind of draw to a great organization and its mission for me.
Thank you. That's awesome. That's great. Thank you so much. Talk to me a little bit more. You just did such a great job of talking about why you came here and what brought you to YPN. Talk to us a little bit more about YPN and how you see where we are now and what you see for the future of YPN.
Yeah. So I always give credit to, and I never want to overlook, the people that came before us as well too, who have always had a huge role in the development of who YPN is. So it started, obviously, as we know, back in 1985 by a group of superstar women who saw a need in the community of a need that wasn't really being met. And since then, we've transitioned to where we are today. And I would think, the most important component to who we are as an organization and what we're all about are people. Right? Are that we see a need in the community. We still see it because we see, we get those phone calls on a daily basis from people needing our services. So we're really trying to set people up to be the best version of parents, of guardians, of mentors, of just being present to kids. And that's powerful. As I mentioned before, I think YPN, and we have so many different programmatic pieces. We have our group component that meets every Thursday night. It's just a great community, experience for people just to be there and be around other very inspiring people. Many who are also going through a lot of the same challenges, and that's super important. We also do home visits as well. That's a much more personal approach where one of our parent educators goes in and meets with the family one-on-one. And again, super powerful. And I was able to attend one of those home visits with Chelsea, one of our parent educator supervisors. And it was such an amazing experience for me because I got to see the work our staff does on a daily basis and the power that they have on really that relationship building. That we're there for the family, but we don't do things for the family. We want them to figure things out in many respects as well too. So eventually we don't want people to need YPN. I know that sounds kind of harsh.
Right.
But we want people to have those tools necessary to do great things in life because we know that they can.
Right.
In many respects, though, and we know this too, unless I don't know a magic trick that people have, we don't have a choice in what we're born into. So in many respects, we're here because we need to uplift one another. And I really see YPN as doing that, as being that. Not only are we there to lovingly, and compassionately lead, but we also want to provide the tools necessary for people to not need us
Right.
and to do great things on their own. So we also have the We Care Shop that's incentive-based. There's so many different components to YPN too, and I could talk about those, a whole day, including our diaper bank too, which is fantastic, and it's a great resource for the community. But again, it's all built on that incentive-based, philosophy, and that we really challenge people too.
I think something that you didn't bring up that I want people to understand too is that the families that we serve speak many different languages.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you went and did a home visit with Chelsea, but you've also gone and done home visits as our translator.
Yeah.
We do have a staff member who speaks Spanish. She was out sick, I believe, and so you went and filled in and helped translate for our parent educators. So we serve families. We have staff that speak 7 languages.
That's right.
I wish we had one staff person that spoke 7 languages total, but we don't. We're not quite there yet. But we have families from all over the world that we work with, and it's very important to us that we speak their language to them and work with them that way too.
100%. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's something I think that YPN has seen a big change in, is just the diversity of our participants, because everybody really needs, parenting doesn't have a, manual or a guide, so everybody can benefit from it too. But yeah, we serve a beautifully diverse, population of people, which continues to diversify as more people come into the community. But we've also been very intentional about being representative too on the staff, because we want that trust to be built. And a lot of that understanding comes from life experiences that our staff have had. So it is great. I love coming into work and seeing and hearing all the different languages being spoken, because I think it makes us better and stronger, because we learn from one another, and that's so important, because we're able to relate to the struggles a lot of the participants that are going through.
That's awesome. This has been such a great conversation. I want to continue it, but I have one more question for you before we end today's conversation.
Yeah.
How do the families that YPN serves inspire you personally?
Boy, that's a fantastic question, because that really keeps me coming to YPN on a daily basis. Not only our fantastic staff, but really the people we serve. And I will say one of the things, probably the most striking and profound things that they do to inspire me, is that they come voluntarily, right? Mm-hmm. Over 99% of the participants that we serve come to us, not mandated by anybody, but because they want to improve their life situation. That is amazing, because oftentimes we know and we hear these assumptions sometimes people have about certain populations of people. Boy, are we bucking that trend, right? And it's amazing to see. So just seeing the families make the effort, because they could just stay at home and not come to the programming, but they make the effort to come. That's inspiring.
Awesome. And I absolutely agree. It's incredible to see the families that we work with and the interaction that they have with each other and with the staff and our volunteers. It's awesome. Thank you so much, AP, for doing this first inaugural podcast episode. Was it scary?
Not at all.
Good.
You did a great job.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Well, we will be back with a further conversation with AP later. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and I want to take time to make sure that you let us know what your YPN is. If you visit us on social media, you can find us at YPN Iowa on all the normals: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. But thank you so much, AP, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to My Why, a YPN podcast. We can't make our impact without your support. Please consider donating to YPN. Your gift will make a difference. Visit www.ypniowa.org/give to donate today.